screen. Okay. Can you see the screen now? With the
No,
title?
sir, it's not visible.
Okay. Now you can see the desktop, right? Uh,
No, sir. Can you please tap the screen share button?
yeah. Try the same. Okay, optimize. Okay, maybe.
Okay, now it's visible.
Yeah, can you see the slide now? The title
Yeah,
slide.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, yeah, very pleasing to be part of this initiative by SNAS and Department of Technology. So, yeah, I really appreciate this effort to bring in the expertise from the industry to the students over there. And yeah, thank you, SNAS. Especially, I've been contacted by, I think, SNAS Secretary Abdur Rahman. Yeah, for getting this through. So, yeah, I appreciate your efforts. And yes, well, let's get into the presentation. So I have titled today's presentation, Navigating the Second Generation Stability Criteria. So maybe the term navigating, yeah, basically I meant to give you an introduction about the second generation stability criteria and to bring your attention to that topic so that you can probably in the future uh, work more on to it. So myself, I will start with introducing with a self introduction. So I'll just go through my actually LinkedIn snipe shot. So right now I'm working in Tokyo as a researcher at Monohakabi Technology Institute. So it's a Japanese term. Monohakabi means the quality of transportation. So we are basically the research wing of NYK Group. NYK means Nippon Yusen. It's a Japanese shipping company. So Monohakabi at MTI, we do the R&D work for NYK shipping. So I joined here since October 2022. And before that, I did my master's and PhD from Osaka University with Professor Umeda as a supervisor. Professor Umeda is actually quite a popular name in the field of ship stability, especially related to second generation stability and all those ship stability related activities. So our laboratory name at Osaka University is Ship Intelligent Sub Area. And before that, I have been working with Cochin Shipyard Limited in ship repair operations for 4 years. And I'm a 2013 graduate from Department of Ship Technology, that is 34th batch. So that's about my professional introduction so far. Now coming into the topic, so I think probably you may not have yet experienced the idea of stability in waves, so this second generation deck stability criteria. So I will try to give a very basic idea of the topic and also how we can use the rules and understanding of the rules. So By the end of today's presentation, I hope at least you can get an idea about what was the need for second generation index stability criteria, why such an new criteria was introduced, what is its present status, how it has been implemented now, and what are the phenomena considered in the SGIAC. And the SGIAC actually follows a multi-tied approach. That means it has different levels. So how the multi-tied approach works. So before going into the second generation, I will just have a quick review of what happened in the indexability field with highlighting the main events. So it was in 1914 after the um, Titanic accident and many accidents which occurred before that, which forced the uh, community to have the first SOLAS treaty, which then laid the foundation for establishing international standards and regulations to enhance the ship safety and passengers at sea. And since then, actually, SOLAS has undergone several revisions and updates related to the ship stability and also other safety aspects of navigating in the seas. So that was kind of the first initiative to bring together an international treaty and regulations into place. So after that, another important work is happened in 1939, which is doctoral thesis of Dr. Rahola from Technical University of Helsinki. So this thesis actually formed the basis of the present 2008 index stability criteria and the index stability criteria before. So in this thesis, he actually did an data analysis of various ships that capsized and were found uh, operating safely and tried to find out the minimum amount of stability criteria, which became the basis of further index stability criteria. So the Rahola's criteria is based for the current index stability code 2008. And further, various addition happened like weather criteria. Maybe you are familiar with the wind healing lever and those things. So those criteria developed in 1950s and later in 1960s. The then Intergovernmental Maritime Consultative Organization, which was later named as the IMO, implemented the first index stability rules based on Rahola's criteria. And later there were so many additions to the index stability rules like passenger ship and weather criteria. And in 2008, the index stability criteria was implemented. And further, and so this index stability criteria is basically based on the Rahola's criteria, and in addition, it has the weather criteria and passenger ship criteria. And further, in 2020, the interim guidelines on second generation index stability criteria was laid down. So this is the brief timeline of various events that happened in the field of index stability. And now we will start from the 2008, moving to the how the what are the insufficiencies or shortcomings of the IS code 2008 and how it led to the development of interim guidelines of SGISC, and then into some more details of the SGISC. So starting with the IS code 2008, the IS code 2008 is basically following a regression based and statistics based approach, statics based approach, because it is based on the Rahola's method, which in his thesis he basically evaluated several cases of ships which are found to be adequately stable or insufficiently stable, and tried to find out what are the minimum value of GZ uh, which can demarcate those margin of stability between the being sufficiently stable and being insufficiently stable. For example, the graph below is straight from the thesis of Dr. Rahola. So this graph shows the stability arm on the y-axis and the healing angle on the x-axis. And for example, if you consider a healing angle of 30 degree, 1 minute, I will use the pointer. Okay. So if you consider a heeling angle of 30°, the width of this plot shows the number of ships that is, or the frequency that is occurring in this region. So as you can see, as you go up, the this shaded region shows the uh, insufficient stability, the dark region. So as you go up, the insufficient region number of ships are falling down, and as you go up, the adequate values of uh, GZ are increasing. So based on this kind of statistical analysis, he was able to draw a demarcation between what kind of GZ values required at say 30° or 20° by drawing a line of demarcation between the adequate and critical or insufficient values of GZ. So this was the kind of concept used in the IS 2008 and Rahola's criteria. And when coming to the IS 2008, this same methodology was extended to a larger sample of ships so that we can have more cases being considered. So it has proven to be very sufficient and ensuring or assuring the stability of ships to a certain extent so far. So, the index stability 2008 okay gave us some assurance, but now let's look into some of the accident scenarios which has happened over the years. So this is not so late. This is like 2022 reports and 2020 reports. So as you can see here, there are some terminologies being used here, like parametric rolling responsible for mask SN loss of containers. Then another case of parametric roll. Then another ship has, you can see, capsized, and this is also not due to failure of like damage stability or another reason, and the ship is still intact. And we can see another capsize of fishing vessel with loss of one life. So such accidents still kept occurring. So now let's look into what are the reasons for these accidents. So if we go through the accident report, so this is one of the accident report of the previously quoted fishing vessel. So as if just I will just follow the underlined portion. So as you can see here, in following seas means the waves are attacking the ship from the ascent direction. In following seas, an unexpected large wave caught Anamiri-2 from astern, causing the vessel to broach. That means turning it to starboard side and then heeling it to port and beam onto the waves. So basically, the ship is going and the waves are following, and suddenly the ship started to turn starboard and at the same time heeling to port, and then finally came beam to the waves and capsized. So that is one particular uh, occurrence. And if you go to another report, so in unfavorable course and speed, there is high and long waves which cause a reduction in stability, and the ship rode on a long and high wave with the crest amidship, under which condition the static stability can be very low. So even though the index stability provides us with an assurance of stability, still we can see here there is a reduction in stability occurrence, and especially in particular course and speed. So this kind of accidents again pushes us towards studying more on the index stability phenomenon. And now if you look at the preamble of the 2008 index stability code, in the preamble itself it is stated that safety of a ship in a seaway involves complex hydrodynamic phenomenon which up to now have not been adequately investigated and understood. It is recognized that development of stability criteria based on hydrodynamic aspects and stability analysis of a ship in a seaway at present complex problems which require further research. So together with the accident cases, and if we go back to the preamble of the IS code itself, we can see that there is a necessity to improve or further investigate the stability or the index stability criteria of the ship. So this is what leads to further developments in the field of index stability, and that which came in the form of second generation index stability criteria. So as explained right now, the 2008 indexability still is insufficient in some configuration of sailing in waves. In the accident cases, it's mentioned that especially following or quartering wave conditions, the accidents are occurring. So under some configuration of sailing in waves, still the IS 2008 has some insufficiency. And to address these issues, the work started in 2007 to define the new indexability criteria, which is named as the second generation indexability criteria. And this criteria considers mainly five phenomena, which are one is the pure loss of stability, parametric resonance, broaching, dead ship condition, excessive acceleration, roll motion. So dead ship condition is actually an extension of the weather criteria. The rest all are being new phenomena being brought into the SGISE. So here, one key factor is that the phenomena occur in some configuration of sailing in waves. So if we try to understand what is that some configuration of sailing in waves, so among the five phenomena mentioned here, the pure loss of stability and broaching occurs only in the so-called following and quartering seas, and parametric resonance occurs both in following quartering seas as well as head seas. So one interesting aspect here is the configuration of following and quartering seas. So by following and quartering seas, what is meant is following seas means the wave is propagating from the astern of the ship in the same direction as the ship is heading. And a plus or minus 45 degree from this following sea condition is what we call as the quartering seas. So this range of wave heading where the waves are attacking from plus or minus 45 of the astern side of the ship is known as the following and quartering seas. So what happens here is that the encounter frequency, which you might have came across this equation. So the encounter frequency in the following condition, so has a low value. As you can see, it's a cost function. So when it's around 0 degree, this it will stay as negative, and this will have a low value. When it's head seas, it will have a 180 degree, and it will have a positive value here. That means encounter frequency will be a larger value. So the encounter frequency will be quite small in the case of quartering or following wave condition. So this means that the ship gets adequate time to spend along with the waves. So they are doing kind of a tandem riding where the wave and the ship moves almost simultaneously. And this is quite a dangerous scenario where the certain phenomena could occur with relative to the wave and the ship. Unless a case where the wave passes quite quickly through the ship, there is not sufficient time for any kind of say stability changes to occur, especially in the irregular actual sea condition. The waves keep changing over the time, so there is insufficient time for any kind of stability changes to happen. However, in case of the following and quartering seas, the wave is able to spend so much time along with the ship, which causes the occurrence of stability changes. So this property of low encounter frequency actually, from a mathematical point of view, it helps to simplify the application of many numerical modeling related to the modeling of ship motion. But however, it has the negative impact as I explained now. So in the following and quartering seas, mainly the pure loss stability, surf riding, broaching, and also parametric resonance would also occur in this wave condition. So this is the particular configuration which is being previously discussed in the accident cases where the ship capsize occurred. Okay, so in case of the following and quartering seas, actually these three phenomena we could categorize as two particular categories. One is the restoring arm variation problem, where there is a larger change in the righting arm of the ship, and the other is a maneuvering related problem, which is more related to ship's maneuverability, the thrust force, and resistance kind related problem, and the first one is more related to the G set or the writing lever problem. So now let us look into this restoring arm variation problem and maneuvering problem separately. So what do you mean by the restoring arm variation problem? So this means when a ship is sailing in waves, so right now the image shows just a regular wave case which has a wavelength which is similar to the ship length. So the figure on the left shows a case where the wave's trough is located at the ship midship, and the figure on the right shows a case where the wave crest is at the midship. So you can see here, especially in the ship, there will be a larger increase in the waterplane area around the bow and the stern as the draft of the ship increases, because most ships require a bow flare to provide larger deck space and also prevent the shipping enough water and those kind of phenomena. Generally, ships will have a bow flare. So, because of the reason of bow flare and as well as the stern profile supporting the flow towards the propeller, generally ships will have a larger waterplane area as we move up, especially at the stern and the bow. And around the midship area, it's mostly a parallel body for the huge cargo ships. So there is not much change around this area, but the waterplane area changes considerably around the forward and the stern area. So when the wave profile is like this with the crest midship or the trough midship, you can see that this is the calm water case, the blue line. The waterplane area will be increased when the trough is midship, and it will be reduced when this crest is midship because of the change in waterplane area at the bow and the stern. So this result, as you know, the waterplane area is very much proportional to the GZ and as well as the GM values. So the stability reduction happened because of this change in waterplane area. So this phenomenon is known as the restoring arm variation problem due to waves, and the two of the phenomena like pure loss of stability and parametric roll is directly related to this phenomenon. And the next one is the maneuvering related problem, which is more of a wave force related problem. So maneuvering related problem means when the ship is sailing on the waves, especially on a longer wave, the wave force, the force imparted on the ship by the wave, it will keep on changing as the location of the ship on the waves changes, because as you know, the particles of the waves keep on rotating, moving in a circular motion. So the wave force imparted at different points along the wave is different. So as the ship is moving downside of the crest or upside of the crest, the wave force is changing, and this kind of change in wave force could lead to several phenomena like there is an acceleration. Just imagine going down a slope. So there could be acceleration down the wave slope, and there's the yawing means the yawing motion of the ship will be exaggerated or excited, and there is also loss of directional stability due to the large yaw moments happening in such situation. So maneuver related problem is more of a impact of the wave force affecting the yaw stability of the ship, especially on a longer wave when the ship size is comparable or smaller than the wave size. So that is known as the maneuvering related problem. So now if we look into each of the stability failure mode separately, which is coming as a result of the writing arm variation problem and as well as the maneuvering related problem. So firstly, parametric roll. If we look into parametric roll, which is more of a maneuvering related writing arm related variation problem. So parametric roll means there is a gradual amplification of roll amplitude caused by a series of waves which keeps on changing the stability of the ship. So for example, Here we can see in the figure that the ship location on the waves are changing. That means each time there is a change in water balloon area, as you can see below, and change GZ. So when this happens in a periodic motion, such that every time, say, the ship is rolling to one side, there is an increase in stability, which means there is a strong righting moment happening, trying to push the ship back to the forward upright position. And when the ship is in the upright position, there is a reduction in stability, which means the ship will tends to further roll to the other side. So this phenomenon of change of stability, when it happens in a series of waves, in a way such that the roll motion gets amplified, such a phenomenon is known as the parametric roll. And the condition for such a phenomenon to occur is that the roll motion period should be about 2 times the wave period, so that the amplification happens at the right time, or it is constructive in nature. So this phenomenon could happen in both the head and following seas, depending on the relation between the roll frequency and wave encounter frequency. I will just show an experimental video. So I hope the video plays well. So usually there is some lag happens. So I hope you can see the video well. So as you can see here, this is a ship being kept stationary and waves are being continuously passing. So at each wave cycle, the roll amplification is happening because of the above mentioned reasons. So such a phenomenon is known as parametric roll, where the roll amplitude gradually keeps on increasing as a result of the relation between the frequency of wave motion and roll motion, and as well as the change in the writing lever. Now coming to pure loss of stability, so both parametric roll and pure loss of stability are similar in nature, except the fact that pure loss of stability doesn't have a relation to the frequency of motion. Rather, it's a absolute stability failure when the ship is located at the with the wave crest at the midship. So when the wave crest is at the midship, you can see here there is a larger reduction in the uh, writing lever, and as a result, it could undergo capsize when there is an external moment occurring. So pure loss of stability basically depends on how large the stability change is. That means it requires a much steeper wave. As you can see in the figure also, we are showing a much steeper wave compared to a smaller amplitude waves in this region. So it requires a steeper wave, and the wave need to spend some time. That means the wave speed and the ship speed are comparable, so that the wave doesn't pass quickly. It spends some time so that the some phenomenons could occur. So when we compare the parametric roll and pure loss stability, pure loss is a single wave event, means that there is a sudden stability failure over a single wave cycle, whereas the parametric roll is generated by a series of waves of a certain frequency. So now coming to the surf riding and broaching, maybe surfing is a familiar term for all of you, same as the wave surfing, where somebody rides on the wave. So the term surf riding is exactly the same. We are able to ride on the wave or move with the same velocity as the wave. But coming to broaching, surf riding is generally considered as a phenomenon which occurs before to broaching. That is, the ship and the wave moves together with the wave speed. So the ship speed same as the wave celebrity. So the phenomenon can be explained like this. So actually, it's a bit of a complicated phenomenon to understand, but the basic idea is that when a wave is approaching from the stern, again it's a following or quartering sea phenomenon. It captures the ship. So the similar to how we do a surfing. So when a person wants to do surfing, what we do is we have to firstly come with the similar velocity as the wave is coming. So we cannot be absolutely stand still or zero speed and directly get on the waves. The person with the surfboard has to come with a particular velocity which is similar to the wave velocity and then catch the wave along with the surfboard. So that is how surfing works. So similarly, when the wave is approaching on the stern and the ship has sufficient velocity such that the wave and the ship could become in equilibrium, such that there is an equilibrium between the ship propeller thrust and the resistance being imparted. So such an equilibrium is created, and then the ship rides on the wave, and as the ship rides on the wave, especially on a longer wave, there is an instability in the yaw direction, which happens on the wave downslope, and as a result, when there is slight disturbance on the to the ship motion, it could suddenly undergo large yawing, and large yawing means it becomes beam to the waves, and large roll angle could occur. So, for this phenomenon to happen, a particular ship velocity is an essential condition. So, in this below figure, you can see the straight line, the blue line indicates the propeller thrust, and the red line indicates the wave force. Wave force is continuously changing. So, when there is the possibility that there could be equilibrium points as indicated by these two dots on the figure. So if an equilibrium case could occur, there is a possibility of surf riding happening, and as a result, the yaw instability could lead to broaching phenomenon. So the phenomenon is defined as a case in which a ship cannot maintain desired course despite maximum steering effort. So here some of the key terms are like maximum steering effort. So means the ship is yawing to say port side, but we are trying to bring the ship by giving a maximum in nautical terms we say called hard port or hard starboard. So maximum rudder angle is given to one side, but still the ship goes in the other direction. So such a phenomenon is known as broaching, where the ship cannot maintain desired course with even though we tried our level best to by applying the maximum steering effort in the desired direction. So here is an experiment video of broaching phenomenon. So as you can see here, now the ship is surf riding in this region, moving along with the wave and suddenly yawing to one direction. It was port side here and becoming waves, becoming beam side to the waves, undergoing large uh, roll motion. Surf riding and then followed by a yaw motion. So this is a regular wave experiment. So the waves generated are regular waves. Okay, so now firstly we looked into the phenomena resulting from uh, writing lever variation in waves and also maneuver related phenomenon. So next one is the fourth one is the dead ship stability, which is actually an extension of the weather criteria, which also treats the ship in the same way. So dead ship stability is nothing but we imagine the ship has completely lost its propulsion power so that it's drifting freely. And the condition analyzed here is when the ship becomes beamed to the waves. So when the ship is drifting freely, an interesting force which occurs is the drift reaction force, which is shown here. So and then we consider a sudden gust of wind being applied to the ship, and what is the maximum roll angle that could happen as a result of this combined effect of wind gust and drift reaction. So such an analysis, which is basically the weather criterion only. So such analysis is known as such phenomenon is considered as a dead ship stability case. So this is the next video of the dead ship stability related experiment. So here we can see the ship is kept beam to the waves, and also the box here is a wind generator. So winds are applied here, and here you can see a small acrylic sheet being kept to represent the lateral or the accommodation area, which actually takes in a lot of wind force. So So this kind of phenomenon is known as the dead ship condition. Now moving on to the final phenomenon, which is the fifth phenomenon, which is the excessive acceleration case. So this is not really a stability failure case, but this is more of an case of having excessive acceleration, which could lead to humans being thrown to hit against objects, or the cargo being damaged, the cargo securing arrangements being affected. So more than a stability failure this happens as the term suggests, an excessive acceleration, especially as we know in ship design, there is always this balance between various requirements. So here, especially when the GM value is large, oh, I can hear some noise coming with some mic open. Oh, thank you. So especially if the GM value is large, the period of roll motion becomes much smaller. So for the same roll amplitude, the period is smaller, means there is a larger linear velocity happening. So larger linear velocity, and especially the roll moves from one side to another. So the linear velocity has to change direction. So that means the acceleration are larger. So larger GM could also lead to a larger acceleration, especially as the distance from the roll center increases. The acceleration could be huge. So this kind of criteria where also the value of the excessive acceleration is being considered is known as the excessive acceleration criteria. So these five are the main criteria being considered in the second generation index stability criteria, and especially this uh, particular criteria, this is actually, as all other criteria have also evolved, this is also as a result of several accidents, and one main accident which triggered such criteria was the accidents on board a vessel called Chicago Express, and several. The accident was notable because more than the damage to the ship or cargo, there were personal injuries because of the result of high horizontal acceleration happening. There were more personal injuries than damage to ship or cargo. So it was noticeable event which led to the including development, including the excessive acceleration criteria also into the stability criteria. Now, if we now with the basic understanding of this phenomenon, if we can check how the SGIAC or second generation indexability criteria is considering these phenomenons. So the earlier phenomenon, the index stability code 2008, as mentioned, is mainly based on a statistical approach. It also involves some physics when considering the weather criteria, but the fundamental criteria like the GZ, how much GZ is required in various heel angles, or what should be the minimum GZ. Those are all based on statistics of various ship failures and accident cases. But the second generation criteria has the general consensus of the requirement of being it to be more of a physics based, and by evaluating the performance of individual ships. So the framework is based on such physics-based analysis, and as mentioned earlier, these are the fundamental modes being addressed in this SGISC. And the phenomenon is also based on a probabilistic and deterministic criteria. So by deterministic, it means we directly evaluate, say, a particular wave is being considered, and what is the stability of the ship in that wave condition. And probabilistic means we also need to consider what is the probability of occurrence of such an accident or a risk. So similar to how in the field of, say, risk analysis is considered. So we deterministically evaluate what kind of waves can cause a stability failure. But at sea, at a random sea condition or a realistic sea, it's no, the rarity of waves are also a factor. So a huge wave which could capsize any ship is a definite probability, but it is a very rare event. So we cannot say a ship is unstable because it capsized in a particular wave condition, but we have to also take into account the probabilistic factor of encountering that particular wave condition. So we have a deterministic approach where we actually evaluate wave by wave with performance of the ship and also take into account the probability of encountering particular wave or a stability failure mode. And along with the probabilistic approach, the problem of rarity is also given importance. Means stability failure also needs to consider, like it's along the same line as the probabilistic approach, but there are several statistical techniques to consider what are the rarity of the phenomenon, what kind of, say, for the, if we are considering roll motion, whether we should consider the maximum roll amplitude or a point at which the roll amplitude crosses particular threshold value. So those kind of several statistical methods are also being considered to evaluate the phenomenon in a more realistic manner, where the failure is not just assessed by a single wave or single failure case. And it also follows a multi-tiered approach, so that the multi-tiered approach means there are several layers of considering the phenomenon. Okay, so the rule is based on a multi-tiered approach. So this particular image is straight from the indexability guidelines. So as you can see here, on the left side we have the what are the inputs required. So and we which failure mode we are evaluating, like parametric roll or pure load stability. And what is important to note here is the level 1, level 2 direct stability and operational gun guideline. So this is the hierarchy or the multi-tiered approach which is being followed in the second generation direct stability criteria. So how it works is, firstly we will check the level 1 vulnerability criteria, and of course if it's not vulnerable, means it should not be vulnerable to any of the below cases. That means we can avoid a large computation. As each of the level goes down, the computational effort or the complexity of the calculations involved increases. So if we can say the ship is stable at a higher level, say level 1, means the ship should be stable for other level 2 or direct stability as well. And similarly, either we go for level 1. So if level 1 is not vulnerable, means the ship is stable or it passes the criteria, then it's well and good. And if there's a possibility or if there is a failure in level 1, then we go to the level 2. That means the safety margin will reduce in level 2, which is a more detailed analysis. So we go to level 2, and then further, if level 2 is okay, then again the ship is complying with the code. And if again there is a failure in the level 2, we have to go to a much more detailed direct stability assessment. And finally, we have this operational guidance. So once we find that, okay, we cannot, because right now these rules are issued as a guideline. So when we find out that the ship cannot, even in direct stability assessment, there are cases when the ship is undergoing failure, then we have to prepare operational guidance based on the direct stability assessment, because direct stability assessment gives us a more detailed analysis which we can say, okay, which wave conditions are being susceptible to the ship failure. So we can give an operational guidance to avoid, say, so and so ship speed and wave condition. So that is known as the operational guidance. So this is the basic framework or the multi-tiered approach in which the second generation stability criteria is laid down. And this cycle has to go down from the basic ship design approach. The cycle can go on to improve the design. And just I will go through just one example to give you much more clear idea about the multi-tiered approach. So the level 1 vulnerability is more driven by geometrical approaches, which I think most of you must also be quite familiar with. like hydrostatics and geometric approach. And this is quick to evaluate and conservative. For example, for a pure law stability case, we need to consider only the variation of the water plane area across the along the aft, stern, and the bow area. So by evaluating a parameter which gives the basically a deviation of water plane area along the vertical direction by taking the ratio of the water plane area integrated over the vertical direction and also the maximum water plane area, we get an idea of how much is the water plane area variation. So this water plane area variation could directly indicate whether the ship could be vulnerable to a case where large wave could occur and there is a large variation in water plane area leading to stability failure. So such kind of geometric analysis is being done in level 1, which is much simpler and easy to evaluate. But coming to level 2, it is more on the probabilistic line where we try to evaluate a parameter called C. C indicates whether the ship is stable or unstable, or say failure could occur, or that will be a 0 or a 1 case, a binary kind of value. And the W indicates a weight which is given based on the probability of particular wave occurrence. So this, for evaluating the C, we need to have a mathematical or numerical model of the ship motion, which could be simplified like considering surge motion or giving more importance to the writing lever variation. So such simplified mathematical models could evaluate the C in a deterministic manner, and based on the tables of wave scatter table, which gives the probability of not the probability, the cases of occurrence of particular wave condition. So this is basically a wave scatter table which shows what kind of wave height and wave period could occur in the this one is prepared for the North Atlantic Sea, which is considered one of the very adverse weather navigating conditions. So such kind of probability of encountering waves and evaluation of failure is combined in level 2 vulnerability. And coming to the direct stability assessment, we have to move on to a much more experimental and computational method, which are quite uh, computationally and uh, expensive items. And so the guidelines, the SGIC also provides what kind of numerical approaches, what kind of phenomena need to be considered. So those kind of guidelines also you can get to know from the SGISC. So then moving to the final one, which was the operational guidance. So operational guidance, for example, this is an operational guidance prepared for a parametric roll case. So for example, here the red indicates the roll angle, and this is the wave encountering direction. So here the convention is a bit different. Head C I'm using 0 degree, and following C is 180 degree. So which different with different wave height, we can see the how the roll angle changes. So the shipmaster could be given such guidance. Okay, so and so weather is expected, so you should be avoiding such encountering or ship speed. So along the radial direction is showing the ship speed 4 to 20 knots, and roll angles are indicated by the varying gradient of the color, with the 25 degree being dark red. So such kind of guidance is the other option in which is explained in the SGIC, and as well as several class guidelines also provides how to prepare operational guidelines. So coming to the concluding part of the session, so I would like to review, coming back to the what are the main things I would like you to take away from this presentation. So I hope you are able to understand how why the second generation index stability criteria was developed. So this is primarily because, as explained, there are several accident cases which happened in due to parametric roll, especially related to container ships where there are container losses and there are fuel flow stability and broaching related accidents being occurring. and there was also a demand for improving the stability criteria to a more physics-based and performance-based approach, and also with improving or the ship designs also being becoming more and more advanced, and the simulation tools also being now in advanced stage, we can have a much more detailed evaluation of the ship stability. So this kind of factors led to the necessity for the SGISE. And if you consider the present status of SGISE right now, as an MSc circular, Maritime Safety Committee circular, it is laid down as a guideline, which with the expectation of getting feedback from, especially from the academic community and also ship operators and owners. So I would say more of right now more of an academic kind of interest is shown in this area, uh, where a lot of universities are involved in the ship stability community, evaluating the ship various criterias and checking the whether there is some inconsistencies over several levels. So right now, IMO is expecting feedback based on evaluating these criterias for several ship cases, so that we can assure the reliability of this criteria and further improve the criterias. And the phenomenons being considered here as the five major phenomenons, like pure loss, parametric flow, broaching, the excessive acceleration, and dead ship are the phenomenons being considered in the SGISE. And the multi-tiered approach, as I mentioned here, there is a level 1, level 2, and direct stability and operational guidance. So with each level, the complexity increases, and the purpose of the multi-tiered approach is basically to have a quick look at the stability of the ship without going into much expensive and time-consuming computation. So if the ship is stable in level 1, means we don't have to go to another levels. So that kind of simplified analysis is the purpose of the multi-tiered approach. But there are cases where ship could pass level 1 and still might show a stability failure in level 2. So such inconsistencies are being studied and could be addressed. So that was mainly the content of today's presentation. So then finally, the main work related to the, I would say, the second generation tax stability or the stability community. So if you want to closely follow the developments related to stability related community, so as you know, there are several conferences happening related to decarbonization or say autonomous shipping or all latest trends happening in the maritime industry. So related to the stability community, the ship's tab is a uh, group where there is a very detailed discussion on ship stability, its operational safety, and those kind of things. Actually, yeah, I think you could find one 2018 STAB conference proceedings at our department library as well. So this is one yeah community which you follow if you're interested more to be involved with the ship stability community. And actually in your as a part of this kind of feedback to the IMO criteria, your projects also could consider taking into account at least level 1 or yeah level 1, level 2, which is much similar approaches, and you could yeah get better understanding of the how the criteria work. Yeah, so that's all from the content today. And yeah, I have actually put a feedback form if you all or don't already have a feedback form. So yeah, if you can later look into the feedback form, that would be grateful. Yeah. So yeah, well, I welcome any questions and discussions related to today's content, as well as anything related to yeah Japan, or yeah anything is welcome. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, is there any limitations to the second generation index stability criteria? Is there any? And what are the changes happening in the criteria right now? Is there any?
So limitation in the case of shortcomings. So one of the shortcomings is like these inconsistencies are being I think still being addressed. So that's why the 1 minute. Okay, uh, where is the multiplier? Okay. So yeah, one of the limitation is there are cases where for certain ship cases, especially some of the research related to offshore support vessels, have also we have also seen that some cases the one particular level, like a higher safety margin level one could pass, but still the ship could be vulnerable level two. So that is what actually called a false negative case, which is called an inconsistency, which is not supposed to happen. Actually, the purpose of the criteria or how the limiting values. So, like similar to the index stability code, this criteria also has like what are the minimum parameter or the critical value. So the critical values are actually designed in or developed in such a way that if one level or the top level is a pass, then the next level should definitely be a pass. But there are few cases of for particular ships when due to some other phenomenons, like it could be something like shipping in a water, those kind of phenomenons are not being considered. So those kind of phenomenons could lead to some another different phenomenons being occurring, and those inconsistencies in different layers is one such limitation or one such inconsistency which has been encountered. Sorry, what was second question? Can
Sir,
you
I asked if there are any changes happening in the criteria right now. There any like major changes that is happening?
yeah, major changes right now? Yeah, right now uh, I cannot see any. I mean, I haven't been not to any major changes, right? So because right now in 2020 only the criteria has been laid down, but still a lot of research are being done, because especially areas like direct stability assessment is still a wide open area where you could have many different approaches in considering, because direct stability assessment means you are uh, directly assessing during mathematical simulation or model experiment. So there are a lot of different methods in terms of statistical approaches, or what kind of phenomenons or what kind of numerical modeling. So yeah, so going into the details could be a bit difficult now. So I would say that yeah, there are still a lot of areas of research going in terms of direct stability assessment, and also the level two, which is also a probabilistic approach. So what kind of approaches right now? Basically, it's based on something called Long-Higgins theory, which is able to predict the probability of encountering particular waves. So that those kind of theoretical approaches are also being evaluated to improve the consistencies of the phenomenon. So yeah, it's still an area of actually a lot of research going on, but right now it has almost reached a reliable or more or less a consistent stage. That's why the IMO has published it as a guideline. So expecting more feedback from the academic as well as the industry community to improve. So
Thank you,
that's
sir.
it. Mm.
Sir, I would like to ask one more question.
Yeah. Sure.
So you are a researcher. So what is our scope in the researching field, not only in Japan, the entire world? To ask
You mean in this particular topic or generally?
generally.
Okay. So generally, as a researcher, so uh, I would say most of from the Department of Ship Technical community, there are many of us working in the research field. So, so if you see myself, how it evolved is from the bachelor degree, which laid the foundation, which gives you the basic foundation of what is required to get into the industry. So, and with some industrial exposure, I moved to more advanced learning, more advanced research areas. So, most of us generally moves in that direction. So, I know many of us working in research related to several areas like, say, underwater noise or offshore related research where the motion, offshore ship motion, not ship motion, the offshore structural motions are being uh, evaluated. So basically, yeah, the scope is there are a lot of areas like right now as a so one direction could be for a ship owner. So I am working for a ship operator or a ship owner where the research involves all that could benefit them in like decarbonization, how we can improve the energy efficiency, how the ship motions could be reduced. So all those research areas. Then there are a lot of research happening in the offshore industry. So whatever industry you are getting into, if you are motivated enough to yeah learn, welcome new things and learn. So many of us who go to offshore industry, they learn more about the mooring analysis or offshore structure analysis and those sort of things. So the research field is very open now, and especially now, the main research direction I could say that it's mainly autonomous shipping is one direction, then decarbonization is one direction, then digitalization in shipping. That means the ships are becoming like in every field. Now it's more of a digital field where you have a lot of ship data being analyzed. So digitalization of the shipping in terms of analyzing the data on board, representing the ship as such as a mathematical model. So that is one area. So then underwater or the pollution related area or the underwater noise related area. So there are several research area in which as naval architects we have a major role to play. So depending on the industry you get into and your motivation to study or yeah go further to know about various things, yeah, definitely there is a lot of scope for naval architects in the research area. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think the answer become very complicated, but I hope you could get the yeah, essence of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello,
Good
sir.
afternoon, sir.
Hi. Yeah. Yes,
My
please.
question is, from your perspective, do you see any scope for a third generation of intact stability criteria?
Oh, very interesting question. So, so what I could say is that so the first generation index stability criteria, first or the present stability criteria happened in around early 19th century, and it was in the sorry early 20th century, and it was in the 21st century that it came as a more reliable or overall a form which has more acceptance. And so even with the second generation index stability criteria, it could take a long time, but probably not as long as the first generation, for because now the ability to evaluate ship motions or the computational resources we have are much higher than it was during the early 20th century. So it could move much faster than the first generation. So yeah, as for the third generation question, yeah, I would say I could not imagine that much, but still there could be phenomenons. As even in the second generation, we can see there are some inconsistencies or being occurring. So as the ship designs evolved, maybe we have some different types of ship propulsion systems. So, and in another era will be, we have to consider the modern ships with new propulsion systems. So we are involving a lot of wind power being used. So the stability has to consider the effect of, say, somebody is towing a kite. So what are the healing moments occurring from the kites? But that still could be considered with the present as well, or with the new renewable energy scenario. There is a scenario in which the weight of the ship is actually moving little upward, it seems, because most of the designs shows a large fuel storage tank being above the deck, because the renewable sources such as ammonia, hydrogen, or all those are energy low dense fuels, so they need a larger storage capacity, which means we have to maybe use some space above the deck as well. So there is changes happening in the stability of the ship as well as propulsion. So yeah, there is a scope that there is a lot of inclusions happening to the existing criteria. As far as third generation, yeah, I cannot still surely say what could be the addition or new phenomenons could be considered. So yeah, it is too early to say, I would say, I think so. But there are still, as happened with the first generation, there are still additions going to happen in terms of new ship designs coming up. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
sir.
So, how does your experience working in Cochin Shipyard influence your current research in Mono Huckabee, especially in the context of navigating second generation index stability?
Okay, so yeah, coming to so there are two parts. One is the work at Monohokobi Technology Institute and the experience at Cochin Shipyard and related to index stability criteria. So the I would say in the even at MTI, so I think Monohokobi is a little maybe difficult to term, so you can use MTI. So at MTI also we are more looking into an phenomenons that are interesting, like from a ship operator or a ship owner perspective. We are into the phenomenons which we are more looking into the phenomenons which interest our ships, like especially most of the huge losses happening from the container losses, so that are related to parametric role phenomenon. So we doesn't carry out a wide range of research related to all the several phenomena in the index stability criteria, but parametric role is definitely one phenomenon which is exciting for most of the ship owners, especially those container ship owners. So and that is also being treated now from being providing operational guidance to the master in terms, like in previous slides I showed some yeah, I think a polar chart which represents the operational guidance. So those sort of research are being carried out here. So that is what kind of research is happening at MTI in terms of secondary index stability criteria. And from the point of view of experience from Cochin Shipyard Limited, so in terms of second generation index stability criteria, my experience is basically from my tenure at Osaka University, where I was actually closely working with broaching related phenomena, which is one of the failure modes in second generation. But the experience with shipyard or on-site experience is definitely valuable when you move to academic or a research career, because you can think you have a perspective where you have actually known the ship not only shipyard experience or being as a say marine engineering or sailing experience, so you get a great perspective of how the ship actually operates and an understanding of what a shipyard is looking into, or a ship. If you are sailing, you get a perspective of what the ship owner is looking into. So those sort of perspective will definitely help you when you uh, uh, do a research career. So yeah, right now I cannot recollect any definite examples, but actually the one of the main reasons why I was able to join this institute is actually because of my experience with shipyard as well. Because people generally research institutes mainly often consider, or say ship owners we often consider past experience working with shipyards or being sailing on board. So those experiences are definitely a good way those practical experience are definitely valuable, or yeah, very much valuable. I
Good
hope
evening,
I
sir.
could answer some
Yes,
way.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, do you think we'll have to reduce the draft of a vessel to comply with the second generation stability?
Reducing the draft of a vessel to, so actually, yeah, may I ask what brought you to that thought? Why did you think that reducing draft could be a solution?
Sir, because as per my understanding, when we are doing the
Yes.
first generation stability, usually if we fix like let's say a 12-meter draft
Mhm.
and a 5 meter VCG, let's say. So
Mhm.
in first generation stability, usually it's like for all drafts lesser than 12-meter and for all VCGs lesser than 5, it meets with the stability criteria. But
Mhm.
I think for second generation, there can be chances that in 11-meter draft itself, there's a chance that it might not meet with the second generation criteria. Like, is it like, is there any chance that um, it won't meet with second generation criteria with lesser drafts, like lesser than a Lordland draft?
Lesser trend lot, yeah, that's yeah, probably it cannot be said directly, because one thing is related to the draft. When we finally evaluate the loading condition, we have to uh, actually do it for lightest, even the lightest draft, right? So there is a range of draft being considered when we prepare the final loading manual or trim and stability booklet. So starting from the lightest possible draft and say the different trim conditions. So it's not just a problem with the draft, but in terms of the failure modes considering this phenomenon, in the second generation, actually, if you are able to prevent those larger variation in water pulling area, so that is what matters. So if you are able to fix draft at a particular level, so that would could be lower draft or could be higher draft, where the encountering waves, the change in water pulling area induced by the encountering waves could be minimized. So that sort of draft is could be a probable thought process, but that is not easily adoptable method, because when we ship design, we have a loading requirement. So and our draft, and yeah, so if you can fix a draft at a particular area where you can minimize the variation in the water pulling area, that is a probable thought process. But then again, then we have to consider what are the maximum wave height being encountered at the scene. So that sort of information you can have some idea from the wave scatter tables. So that kind of fixing of draft based on variation in the water pulling area and considering what kind of wave encounter could be a possible Thought process in reducing the stability failure from a second generation or more from a variation restoring arm point of view. But other phenomena like say broaching or excessive rolling are not much related to such cases. So it's both sides are both could be done. Thank you for the interesting question.
Thank you, sir.
I
Good
think
afternoon,
that's
sir.
it.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, please.
I am Krishna Kumar, Best 47. Sir, my
Please,
question is about the 3D hull modeling software or mode software coming into the picture. Can we see any addition to the phenomena and the layer in the upcoming future?
Actually, the voice was not very clear. If somebody got the question, or can you repeat the question? There is some, voice was
Okay,
little blurred.
okay, okay, sir. Can you hear me?
Can you repeat?
Sir, my question was about the hull modeling software and many different software coming. Can we see any additional phenomena in the upcoming scheme? Any phenomena or any layer? How, like simple question, what is the role that remodeling plays?
Did you mean like modeling of these kind of stability phenomenon, software for modeling these kind of say second generation stability phenomenon?
Yes, sir.
Actually, softwares like say Napa and all are Napa and what else? I could see in Napa there are this kind of not up to direct stability assessment, because direct stability assessment is still maybe fully CFD based analysis or experiment or numerical simulation. CFD analysis is basically time consuming, so numerical simulation with simplified approaches are being carried out. But from a level one is rather hand calculation is also possible. From a level 2 stability point of view, some of the softwares, I have only experience with Napa only. So software like Napa, they have incorporated this level 2 failure modes. That's being added in terms of, I think most other softwares will also consider adding, because it also helps providing operational guidance, because this especially level 2 and the direct stability can provide operational guidance in addition to assessing the failure mode, can provide operational guidance. So most ship design or ship modeling softwares will also consider incorporating, I think, level 2, at least till level 2 related stability failure modes. Definitely Napa is a candidate for that. There is nothing more.
I think that's it for the Q&A session. So thank you for the insightful presentation, sir. This comes to an end of the session. Now, before concluding, we would like to present a certificate of gratitude to Dr. Srinath Maniappan for honoring the event and delivering such a wonderful talk.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's thank you very much. I used the photo from my LinkedIn profile. Nice.
So I hope you all have enjoyed the webinar. On behalf of SNAS, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Srinath Maniappan for taking time from his valuable schedule and making this a very informative webinar on this special topic. My sincere gratitude to all members of DOSTAS from all over the world for the exceptional commitment to the department. On this occasion, I would like to thank Professor Sadish Babu PK, HOD, for being a constant inspiration, and for being with us in all the activities conducted by SNAS. Last but not the least, I would like to thank every faculties and students who put a sincere effort to attend the webinar and make it a grand success. And always feel free to contact us for the feedbacks. It's highly appreciated. Our webinar has been concluded. Now you may leave the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
it's my pleasure present and looking forward to meeting you all in department. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
see you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.